Hey, hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shannon and this is a late TBR for February because time got away from me, and this is the shortest month of the year and it's already 1 week into it and I have done nothing. So I suppose it's better late than never, maybe, or just some roundabout way to say at least I'm fucking doing it. This is going to be my February Tarot TBR video, and I will go over what I picked for January, my points, and if I completed my TBR, I will also pick for February and let you know what I plan to read for the month. The shortest month of the year is the shortest month of the year, but none less ambitious than the rest of them, because TBR games are really hard to tailor, like, to be nice to you, and my TBR game in particular just happens that I pick books without thinking sometimes, and then I realise that I don't actually have long to complete these because, again, this is late, so let's just hope I can cram a month of reading into like 3 weeks. For January's wrap up, the first card I picked was Isolated Setting or Small Town Setting. And I got bonus points if this was paranormal or horror. I went with Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. This was not paranormal or horror, but I did complete this and I gave this 3.5 stars. This was really good. I did really enjoy the audiobook of this. It also had a very sneaky twist that I did not see coming, but I'm glad that it like snuck up on me in a way that made it shocking, even if the book itself wasn't as shocking as I would have liked it to be. Overall, this was a good first impression of Alice Feeney's work, and I definitely think I would pick up more based on this book. And I definitely really enjoyed the audiobook, so I would look into Alice Feeney's audiobooks if I want to consume any more of her books in the future. But I read this, I get 1 point for my TBR game, which is so much further away from 20 points that I need to buy new books. So yeah, but I read this and I enjoyed it enough to maybe continue reading more from this author. The next card that I pulled was a most anticipated, and for this I went with House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J Maas. I actually tabbed it this time. Do you see how many tabs I put in this? This was a most anticipated because the sequel comes out this month and I wanted to reread this story and immerse myself in this world before continuing on. In this story we follow Bryce Quinlan, who is half fae, half human, and she lives in Crescent City with her best friend Danica, and kind of her other friends are all around her until one of her friends ends up murdered, and 2 years later the murders happen again after they thought they had caught the killer, and Bryce is matched with bodyguard Hunt, also known as the Umbra Mortis, also known as my future husband in fictional worlds, and together they have to fight to find who the killer is. I forgot how much this book destroyed me. I spent the last like 100 pages crying at this book, and I don't remember feeling that way the first time I read it, but upon reread I just bawled my eyes out, like a whole box of tissues bawled my eyes out. And I don't know, I just had such a great experience rereading this. This is a 5-star read, and it's also probably, after reread, on top of my favourite Sarah J Maas books because I loved it that much. And to make it all the more better, I get the sequel this month, so like I'm really happy about that. But yes, I read this, it got a 5 stars, and I'm so happy that I did. The next card I pulled was to read a favourite book of the first person in your YouTube subscription box. I ended up with A Little Life by Hana Yanagihara, and I did not get to this month. I feel like after House of Earth and Blood and the total heartache I felt reading that book, I just wasn't ready to dive into another book that was going to destroy me. I have added this onto my 2022 TBR, so I will be reading this year, and I'm kind of gutted I didn't get to it in January, but at the same time I can only do so much, and the emotion was already running high with coming off of House of Earth and Blood. I felt like if I read this, like, I would be putting too much emotional strain on my reading, especially since I went into a reading slump after House of Earth and Blood, and that's why I didn't complete this month's TBR, because this reading slump hit me really, really hard. So unfortunately I didn't get to this one, but this will be getting read this year and there will be a vlog for it, so hopefully it will be sooner rather than later. The next card I pulled was to read an enemies to lovers romance, and I did not complete this. Again, I got into a reading slump. I picked The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Maria Zapita. And unfortunately I didn't get to it because I suck and went into a huge reading slump. So again, I failed this TBR, so I'm gonna have to take a punishment. I also had on my TBR Falling Away, well, Rival and Fallen Away by Penelope Douglas, and I did actually manage to read these before House of Earth and Blood put me in the worst slump ever. So I have a vlog for the original trilogy down below. I'll link it down below and you can follow along. It has got spoiler and spoiler free parts, so if you want a spoiler version then just follow the spoiler chapters, and if you want a spoiler free version, the spoiler free chapters are there too, so that no matter if you've read this or not read this, you can enjoy that video. And I, just like I enjoyed my reread of these, I had so much fun and I'm glad that I got to these. So I am happy that I managed to squeeze these in. It just kind of sucks that they don't count as points. I didn't think this came through that very well, didn't I? Because I didn't finish my TBR this month, I have my Jar of Thorns ready to pick one. I'm scared. Please don't be a bad one. I'm gonna get right in here. Okay. Oh, am I pulling this the wrong way? Oh, what is this? Add an extra card, I think. Yep. Yeah. Oh. I have to go pick another card. So I have all of my tarot cards here, apart from the ones that I've picked for February, because I keep them out every month, just simply because I think it's easier to not have repicks for the next month. So there's actually so much of these cards that it's really hard to shuffle, so I am just going to randomly select one. And I have no idea what it is. Oh, listen to an audiobook and I get bonus points if it's paranormal or fantasy. This actually isn't that bad a card. I am going to have to think this one through though, because I don't know what I would pick for this. So I will have a think of this and come back at the end once I've picked a book. But getting on to the first card for February. And the first card I pulled for February was to read a book with a badass sounding main character, and it must be paranormal or horror. And for this, I have picked Lore by Alexandra Barakin. I originally picked this up last January when it was released, and I still haven't read it, so it's been sitting on my shelf for over a year now. And I decided what perfect time to pick it for this. We follow Lore, who is a hunter of sorts, but she left the life to lead a normal life because every 7 years there's a competition called the Agon, and in this competition all the hunters are free to kill Greek gods in order to get their power. But Lore wanted nothing to do with this until one day the Agon takes place in her neighborhood in wee tiny New York City. Yeah, coincidence, right? And Laura has to decide whether she wants to stay out or get revenge on the people that have wronged her. And so far, I'm actually reading this right now because, again, this is a late video. I'm actually on page 94 of this right now, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I I'm getting a little bit confused as to the exact rules of the competition, and when they speak about new gods, old gods, hunters, and how the power is taken isn't hugely developed yet. So I'm enjoying it so far. I'm glad I picked it. Laura definitely sounds like a badass. Like, she's already scaled buildings and knocked people on their arses, so like it works for this prompt. It is also marked as paranormal fantasy on Goodreads, which is why I am classing this as paranormal. I tend to go by, on Goodreads, the tags that are on the same page as the book. They are what I mark as being in the book. So even though paranormal was the 10th tag in this book, it was still marked on the homepage for it. So I'm counting it. And it's my game. And I'm counting it. The next card I pulled was to assign a most anticipated read. And of course, for this, I'm going with House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. This is the sequel to House of Earth and Blood. I am so hugely excited for this. I've pre-ordered it. I've took the day off work. I'm like, this is happening, and I am going to be hopefully not as destroyed as House of Earth and Blood, but just as happy reading it. So this is definitely my most anticipated for this month, technically, of this year. So because like I love some Sarah J. Maas, and I don't care. Like, I am ready for this. My soul is so ready for this. And the next card I got was to read a book with a new relationship or friendship, and I get bonus points if it's fantasy, yes. And for this, I'm going with Zodiac Academy The Awakening. This is book one in the Zodiac Academy series, and I've had my eye on this since I seen it come up on TikTok a few times, because book talk is like such a dangerous, dangerous slope to go down. And I actually got gifted this from one of my close friends, so I'm very thankful. So thanks, Ben, for this. And I decided what better way to put it onto my February TBR. This, I'm pretty sure, follows two twins who are down on their luck, and then one day someone comes from the Zodiac Academy, tells them that they are fae and they are royalty in their world. They got switched at birth, and it is time to travel to Zodiac Academy and come in to their power. And after they train with their power, they can inherit fortunes and become royalty. And that is where we go. I am so excited for this. I've heard really good things. It's also maybe exactly what I need to get me out my slump. This kind of like fantasy um feeling that I'm having because of Earth and Blood. I feel like I need some more fantasy in my life, and between lore and this and Sky and Breath, hopefully it'll get me out my reading slump. And I'm so excited to finally have my hands on this and start this series. Even though I wasn't meant to be starting new series, I'm gonna make an exception. I'm gonna just go with it. The last card I pulled was to read a top priority book. And for this, I have not actually picked anything at the moment because of my slump. And I don't necessarily want to pick something that later on I won't feel like picking. So I'm reserving the right to use this card as I will pick if it's top priority throughout the month. This could be anything on my Kindle TBR, my NetGalley TBR. It can also be something that's been on. It could also be something that's on my shelf for over a year or buddy reads. So, that's one that I could do. Actually, scrap that whole thing. Okay, assign a top priority book is actually going to be Razorblade Tears by S.A. Chosby. I believe this is the Literally Dead book club pick, and technically it's a top priority for me because one of my goals was to participate in this readathon. I love Books and Lala. I just adore their channel, and anything I can do to support them I will, and I want to get involved in the fun and all the live shows, so this is actually turns out kind of perfect. It's a top priority for me this year to participate in Literally Dead, and this card lets me do that. So yes, Razorblade Tears. And of course, the punishment card is listen to an audiobook and I get bonus points if it's paranormal or horror. And what I'm going to do is I am going to leave this card up to future Shannon. If you're interested what I pick for this card, then return for my wrap up / March TBR, or come along on some vlogs while I pick for this card. But either way, I don't want to pick right now because I am really picky when it comes to audiobooks. I tend to be really choosy, and if I don't like the narrator or if I'm not meshing well with the story, I will not continue it. So I don't want to set myself up for failure here, so my best bet is to keep this card for future Shannon, and when I decide what book I pick to fit this card, I will fill you in vlog form, or I will fill you in next month when I come back and do this all over again. And that is all I have for you today. Thank you so very much for watching. I know this is late. I know that this is what we're working with today because a mess. I have to work tonight, so I have to sleep at some point. Would be a good idea. And this was the only like spare minute that I had to try and ram this video in, but I hope that it's not too bad, and at least that I'm still getting the content out there, which is like the main thing. So, you know, I'm so happy that I managed to pick a TBR that I'm excited about, considering I've been in such a bad slump. And I will be doing a vlog for Sky and Breath, of course, and I will probably try and fit maybe Zodiac Academy and my mystery audiobook pick into a vlog so that you can follow along on that journey as well. But until then, if you enjoyed this video or would like to see any future content from me, please subscribe, hit the bell, do all the things that YouTube likes. Stay safe, happy and healthy, and I shall see you next time. Bye.